to a people who are in distress. Aren't you glad this morning that even though we might be in distress, that our God is in control? And as the song goes that we sing here, my Lord is taking good care of me. And so we also learn that no one is equal and that he rules over all things. We can also learn that no one is God's equal and that he rules over all things. And we take great comfort in the holiness and power of God, knowing that he is sovereign over all rulers, and he will sustain his people. He will take us through no matter the circumstances. He promised that he would never leave us nor forsake us. And we know there's movies sometimes that we watch and books that we get interested in, maybe sometimes, maybe not everyone in here this morning or maybe watching, but the more we read some of these books or watch some of these movies, we notice there's a common theme to them through many of these, that they are a plot to take over the world, right? Whether it's a gangster mob leader or wanting to take over a city, or maybe a great warrior that's looking to take over the entire world, the quest for power occupies most of our attention in those type settings. But the unfortunate part is that this is not only fictional in these movies or maybe in some books, it's the reality of our world today. Whether we look back at the time of Alexander the Great, Alexander the Great's desire to conquer the world was driven by a combination of things: a personal ambition, a strategic vision, and the desire to unite a diverse cultures under a common Greek identity. His father, King Philip II, had already laid the groundwork for that, for a unified Greek empire. And Alexander sought to expand that vision by conquering the Persian Empire and beyond. And then we look at others like Adolf Hitler, how he wanted to control the world, how the awful things that he did to the Jewish people and different people of other countries. But that's just a couple of things that came to my mind. And then we possibly have some modern leaders today who might have this same type of goal within their own strange mind, I guess we could say it that way. But no matter how powerful these leaders thought they were, or how powerful they seem to get, they cannot thwart God's plans, the plans of God. Many of the first 39 chapters of Isaiah, they focus mainly on the judgment of God's wayward people, the Israelites, and them being under control of evil nations. But it changes in our lesson today here in chapter 40 to a message of hope. Even though the Israelites' situation seemed hopeless, God was still in control of it. It's the same for us today. When our situations, they look hopeless to us, and we seem all hope is gone, and we feel like all is against us, our God is still in complete control. Our holy God cannot be matched in his power, and he will rescue his people. Isaiah chapter 40 verses 21 through 31 is a powerful message to us of that of hope for these exiled Israelites. It's declaring God's incomparable power as the creator, his tireless nature, and his intimate care, promising that those who wait for him will receive that of renewed strength. They're going to soar like eagles. And it's really contrasting human frailment, being frail, with that of divine endurance, right? And urging us to trust in our everlasting God over idols or earthly rulers. And we'll start with chapter 40, verse 21 through 24. Have you not known? Have you not heard? Hath it not been told you from the beginning? Have you not understood from the foundations of the earth? It is he that sitteth upon the circle of the earth, and the inhabitants thereof are as grasshoppers, that stretcheth out the heavens as a curtain, and he spreadeth them out as a tent to dwell in. that bringeth the princes to nothing. He maketh the judges of the earth his vanity. Yea, thou shalt not be planted. Yea, thou shalt not be sown. Yea, their stock shall not take root in the earth. And he shall also blow upon them, and they shall wither, and the whirlwind shall take them away as stubble. And so our first few scriptures here, they begin with a series of questions that Isaiah repeated throughout this prophecy. Have you not known, or have you not heard? The implication is whatever Isaiah said next, the people should have known. They should have heard these things, right? They should have known how great God is, right? And they should have understood the very power and the authority of God. The Israelites had no excuse for their turning to false gods. Not only are God's attributes known through creation, but God had explicitly given them his law, his name, and his presence had been with them, right? Instead of them recognizing his holy authority, that God alone has ultimate power and rules everything, they look to human leaders. They look to false gods, false idols. They feared their oppressors. And they also cried out to kings, both their own kings and those of foreign allies or foreign countries, to rescue them. But Isaiah revealed here that their fear and their hope were unfounded, because God can conquer any human leader as easily as we blow out a candle. God alone, he gives people power, and he has the right and the ability to take away that power. God can raise up whom he will. He can also strike down whom he will. Nothing happens apart from his plan. We may not understand God's plan, but nothing happens apart from what his plan is. Instead of us placing our hope in human leaders, we need to stand in reverent awe of our holy and powerful God, worshiping him because he alone has that true authority. We can also take comfort in the fact because no human oppressor will last. They may succeed for a time on this earth, but their plans fail when their lives end. No one is like God, having absolute eternal authority, because God sits above the circle of the earth, viewing us as inhabitants. It talks about them being as mere grasshoppers. That's just highlighting humanity's smallness. That's how small we are in comparison to his greatness, to his almighty power. It says God brings princes and rulers to nothing. He reducing them to less than nothing. That's showing he controls all earthly power structures, even toppling mighty empires like Babylon. Kings and leaders are like tender, newly planted vines that wither and are swept away by a hot desert wind. And then he blows on them, right? Demonstrating their lack of preeminence. And so the message here in those first few verses is for the exiled Israelites to shift their perspective from their weakness and their despair, shift it from that to God's strength and knowing his power, knowing that he is in complete control, recognizing that the God who created everything also controls history, and he can deliver them, and he will. Verse 25, to whom then will you liken me? Or shall I be equal, saith the Holy One? Lift up your eyes on high, and behold, who hath created these things, that bringeth out their host by number. He calleth them all by names, by the greatness of his might. For that he is strong in power, not one faileth. Why sayest thou, O Jacob, and speakest, O Israel? My way is hid from the Lord, and my judgment is passed over from my God. I went a little too far, but that's okay. So in addition there to those first few verses in 25 and 26, it's highlighting God's power through his authority. Isaiah's prophecy here called attention to God's power through his acts of creation. The Israelites likened him to false gods who had no power and no breath. But Isaiah reminded them that the living God is the creator. No one else can create out of nothing. God created this earth out of nothing. He spoke to the waters of the deep, right? He created something out of nothing. He created something out of me, out of nothing. I was nothing, and God created me to be something. In Jeremiah 51, verses 15 through 19, he hath made the earth by his power. He hath established the world by his wisdom, and hath stretched out the heaven by his understanding. When he uttereth his voice, there is a multitude of waters in the heavens, and he causeth the vapors to ascend from the ends of the earth. He maketh lightnings with rain, and bringeth forth the wind out of his treasures. Every man is brutish by his knowledge. Every founder is confounded by the graven image. For his molten image is falsehood, and there is no breath in them. They are vanity, the work of errors. In the time of their visitation they shall perish. But the portion of Jacob is not like them. For he is the former of all things, and Israel is the rod of his inheritance. The Lord of hosts is his name. And so no one is God's equal. And it's demonstrated by the fact that no one else aided God in creating the universe. The creation reveals his power. And all we have to do is look up at night and recognize that the stars hang in the sky. They hang there in the sky at God's command. We look at all the stars. We always look for the Little Dipper and the Big Dipper and all the different stars that we can think of this morning. But we stand there in amazement that those stars are just hanging there, picture perfect. They just stay there until they finally, what we call falling stars, and we always want to make a wish on the falling star. But the stars just hang there, the moon just hanging up there at night. And it's a beautiful picture for us to go out on our porch or out in the yard and just look up and see that creation, that God made that. He made it to where those stars would come out at night and just hang in the sky. The moon would shine. The sun would shine for us during the day. But it's amazing. And he created that. We couldn't create that, right? We couldn't make that happen. No human power could make that happen. Isaiah used the stars here as his case study of the Creator's incomparable power. Nothing could compare to that power that God has. The Lord made them, right? He names them and he keeps track of them. If the Lord made and keeps track of the stars, then how much more does he do for his covenant people? How much more does he do for us? God asked them, to whom then will you compare me? He's highlighting to them that no idol or earthly power measures up to his holiness. That nothing can measure up to his power. He is the one who brings out the host of heaven, the stars by number, calling each by name. And he's demonstrating his vast knowledge and control. And by the greatness of his might, and because he is strong in power, not one is missing. It shows us his immense and enduring power of God. But it's also assuring people that he never tires. And none of his promises or none of his people are forgotten. He doesn't take a vacation. He doesn't take a nap. He doesn't go to bed at night. He never tires. He's always watching. He's always taking care of us. And he never forgets his promises. He'll never not keep good on his promise. And he'll never forget you. You're not forgotten. And God's people are facing hardship. This passage offers us hope. It's reminding us that the God who can manage the entire cosmos, or the entire galaxies, the stars, and all those things, that he can certainly help us through our struggles. God's absolute supremacy here, and a call to recognize him as the one true God. It's powerful enough, he is, to create and maintain the universe. And then he's caring enough to know every single star. He knows each and every one of us by name, right? And so it's offering to us an ultimate security for us as his people in knowing this. Verse 27, why sayest thou, O Jacob, and speakest, O Israel, my way is hid from the Lord, and my judgment is passed over from my God? Hast thou not known, hast thou not heard, that the everlasting God, the Lord, the Creator of the ends of the earth, fainteth not, neither is weary. There is no searching of his understanding. He giveth power to the faint, and to them that have no might he increaseth strength. Even the youth shall faint and be weary, and the young men shall utterly fall. But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary, and they shall walk and not faint. So because God had seemed to abandon the Israelites to their enemies, he let the enemies overtake them, they complained that God had disregarded them, their cause, and judged them wrongly. But they did not recognize their failure to worship God as the Holy One, to worship him as the true God, the one that had delivered them, the one that had brought them out of Egypt's bondage. Even they complained then. That's why they wound up in the wilderness for 40 years, because of their complaining. People like to complain. They'd rather complain than to listen, right? Just even in natural speaking, in just natural terms. People would rather complain about something than to listen to a way of doing things. Just as the Israelites did. They complained about everything instead of listening to what God said and what Moses was doing and leading them. And they would have got to the promised land, right? But none of them did that come out of Egypt. They didn't make it to the promised land. But they could have if they wouldn't have murmured and complained about every little old thing. We'll complain sometimes about the color of the carpet. We'll complain because the heat's too hot. Or we'll complain because the air conditioner's too cold. Or we'll complain because the preacher held us to 12:30 and we didn't make it to Texas Roadhouse on time before the crowd. We'll find something to complain about, right? Instead of coming to church and waiting to hear what God has to say, waiting to hear from him and worship him in spirit and in truth. But they cheapened their worship of God. They cheapened their worship of him by submitting to earthly kings and earthly false powerless idols. They may have practiced the law. They may have went through the motions. They may have tried to practice it, but their hearts were far from God. Isaiah responded to the Israelites' complaints by revealing more of God's character. He will accomplish his perfect plans. Isaiah pointed out that God's strength never fails. He never gets tired, right? The Israelites were overrun by enemies, but God could sustain them. He could sustain his people. He could get them through it. God provided comfort for his people by inviting them to take refuge in him alone. Their strength would fail, but his never would. It's a powerful message here in these verses. It's a powerful message of comfort from God to his weary people. Israel and Jacob addressing their feeling of being forgotten or abandoned during hardship but it was reminding them of his everlasting nature as the Creator. And it promising that those who wait on him, they will find renewed strength. It's hard for us to wait on the Lord, right? It's hard for us to wait on anything anymore. We can't wait on anything. We can't wait on a package to be delivered. We can't wait on our food. We have a hard time waiting, right? And we certainly find it harder to wait on the Lord. But it tells us here, if we would wait on him, he tells us here in Isaiah that we're going to find renewed strength. We're going to be soaring like eagles. We're going to be running without weariness. And we're going to be walking without fainting. As he provides power to us, he provides power to the faint. He boosts our strength when we're weak. It's about shifting our reliance from ourselves, instead of trying to rely on us to do everything, shifting our reliance from us to him. We rely on God, right? And we do that because he never tires. And we're finding strength in his enduring presence with us and his knowledge. Even when our circumstances seem so bleak, we don't see a ray of sunshine, but we're still trusting in him. We're still waiting on him. And that just emphasized to us of his ability to intervene for us. And he's going to provide what we need. He's going to provide what's needed. But it's also a core promise for us. Those who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. When we look at waiting on God, this means more than passive waiting. It's active. It's a hopeful reliance and a hopeful trust in God for resolution. Not just for things to get better, but for God's intervention. And that of renewed strength, instead of human effort that's going to lead us to fainting, waiting on God brings us that of a supernatural renewal. It allows us to soar. It allows us to run. It allows us to walk without exhaustion. It's a call for us to move from that self-reliance, leading to that weariness that we find ourselves in, to trusting in God's unfailing power and his presence. It's promising us that of restoration and supernatural endurance for us as we go through trials, because we do go through trials, right? God's work is sustaining his creation, but it also demonstrates to us his holy power, because he alone created and he alone upholds the universe. No one is like our God. We know that he cannot be matched in his power or his holiness. And so Isaiah's prophecy here revealed a God who rules over everything and whose plans cannot be disrupted. There's no king can defy him. No ruler can defeat his purposes. God's people would suffer here in exile, but that exile would not last forever. We all heard of this a lot of times it's a favorite verse of the Bible. It comes from Psalms chapter 30, verse 5. For his anger endureth but a moment, in his favor is life. It says, weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. And so that's a powerful message there in that verse, just that one verse. It's a powerful message of hope. It's a message of resilience, that sorrow and hardship are temporary and will eventually give way to happiness, to light and restoration. It's promising us that even the darkest times will pass with the arrival of a new day. Because God is, in his perfect timing, would bring the Israelites out of their distress. In God's perfect timing this morning, he will bring you out of whatever you are facing, whatever distress you are in. And then we can look back this morning at some ways that God has already brought us out of things. He's already brought you out of your own distress. He's done it before, and he'll do it again. If you're in a difficult season of life now, we can just meditate, or we can pray on God's power. But we can also thank him for his perfect will. Thank him for his plans. And we can also take comfort in doing that, in knowing that the plans of the wicked will ultimately fail. Just as God sustained the Israelites when they were in exile here, then he will certainly sustain us now when we seek him. He'll sustain us. He'll carry us through. Then we'll be just like in verse 31. We'll mount up on those wings of eagles. We'll soar. We'll run. And we'll walk and not faint. All we have to do, and it's hard for us to do, it's hard for us to wait. But it just tells us there, but they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. It tells us that we shall run and not be weary. And we'll walk and not faint. So I trust you got something this morning. Mom, you dismiss us.